So, if I recall last time, y'all dealt with a whole bunch of very large, very hungry jungle creatures. And Kira made an interesting decision with Iffy.
What did you do now?
What do you mean an interesting decision? I made the decision Iffy always makes.
Running and trying to help the two that were being attacked. Despite not really having much to help with. One is, I believe, down again. Other one is very injured. And
Yeah, one of them is down again, the other one is like super injured, but
between Kane and Tia, you managed to chase off the largest of the predators into the forest. And are now heading up across the river to try and help Iffy with this bleeding figure in her arms. So we'll start off with Iffy. You have one unconscious person in your arms. The other one is like halfway up, kind of taking a knee, in pain, bleeding themselves, but are up and conscious at the very least, kind of panicking, still looking around, trying to see if there's anything else that's about to jump out of the trees. You hear the running feet on the other side of the river, but it's going to take a second for them to get to you.
I think Iffy looks at the one who's still conscious and is like, hey, come on, let's focus here. Can you help me set this person down?
Female Duros just kind of blinks at you, and there's one slow nod, and then starting to nod a little bit quicker. Yeah. Oh, okay. And we'll put the blaster that she is carrying into a holster on her hip and move forward to try and help you ease this figure onto the ground.
As if he's got... I imagine this is just an extremely unwieldy proposition for her, because she was, like, trying to hold this person back because the beastie was pulling them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that she's got her arm, like, across her body, right? The other person's body. And without anything to help steady her, she's just, like, very visibly off balance. But she will attempt to lower her, and then looks over to the other, the Bothan. Alright, look, I should have another stem pack over here on my belt, if you can get it. I'm a little preoccupied.
Raven's gonna go get Mindy.
What are you informing Mindy of as you're helping her pull through the last bit of jungle?
Mindy, we have casualties.
On my way. She'll start following.
C-3PO shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
The Duros will reach out and unclip the stem pack from your belt and will look at their companion, see that she is beaten and bloodied and kind of shredded, to be honest, and wince. And there's just the moment of renewed panic, but a different type of panic. She's gonna be okay, right?
She's gonna be fine. She's gonna be fine. Listen to me. She's gonna be fine. We got a med droid coming. She's done excellent work, saved my life when I was about as torn up as that, believe it or not. Everything's gonna be alright.
Mindy looks at the cameras.
And she will start to, like, try to use the stim pack, but sees Mindy slowly wading through the water. I imagine being pushed partially by Raven to keep her upright. And will just wait and hold out the stim pack to Mindy as she approaches. What are you doing, Mindy? Got one that's the fucked up Duros and a fucked up Salonian. Extremely fucked up
And
Salonian.
which... Okay, so the Salonian's the one that's more messed up?
Yes.
Well, before using the stim pack, can she kind of assess the damage?
Mm-hmm. So, what you see without even needing to roll anything is that they both have bite marks and scratch marks all over them. Seems like the Duros is more scratched up and bruised up than anything. There seems to be less bites, a little bit less or fewer deep wounds. The Salonian, who you'll note is a little bit smaller and thinner in frame than the other Salonians you've met, and interestingly has dyed the fur on top of her head blue, like bright blue. She is just covered in bites and scratches, and one of her legs is damn near skinned from where the tug of war happened. And you're pretty sure even her tail, which you can't quite see fully with how she is laying, that she's probably got several broken bones between her tail and the other injuries. You'll have to roll a medical knowledge to try and get anything more than that if you want.
I think so. So the broken bones. Are you saying there's an assumption of broken bones, or
Yes, there's an assumption. There's none that are poking out anywhere. That's...
Well, I think she wants to start with any internal damage, trying to mitigate that as much as possible. So like putting bones where they need to be, like wrapping them, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, let me see here. Open this and I make sure I'm asking the right thing. So if you're going for internal, since you don't have any extra equipment or a proper like medical bay to be using, you're going to roll medicine at 3 purple and 2 black. And that's it. Everybody roll your destiny.
I might need someone to roll for me.
Who do you designate to roll for you?
Who feels like they have spare brain space?
I do it.
Hit a button.
Thank you. Well, I can't get into the foundry, so hit many buttons and also look at my sheet.
Here was having that
Alright.
problem too.
I was on the wrong URL.
Yeah, which one are you using?
I don't know where the correct one is.
Does it have 142 at the end?
Yes.
Is it your 0 tier on?
I should. Guess I'll restart it.
I found the button.
I rolled a dark side for you, buddy. Sorry about that.
That's
Rip.
okay.
It's fine. I balanced it out.
I felt like pretty hot shit because I rolled 2 light side.
Perfectly balanced.
God, it is perfectly balanced. I think.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is.
Yep, yep.
3 and 3, baby.
So you start to examine this Salonian just a little bit more and lean over and begin checking. You do find that she definitely, the bones in her shredded leg are broken, and a few bones, smaller bones in her tail, where she probably was using it either to fight or defend herself or something. You see, those are also broken. And you begin to try and stabilize and splint, and do you want to use the stem pack that has been proffered to you?
Yeah, she can use it.
Okay. You see that the Salonian starts to breathe a little bit easier with the medication, but not by much. She's still fully unconscious, which, judging by the signs of struggle around and the amount of blood that you're seeing, you're not overly surprised. And you know that this Salonian's probably going to take at least a good few hours to wake up, if you're lucky.
But if they're stabilized, she'll start mending the other one, the Duros.
Duros will hold out an arm first that they're kind of cradling. You can pretty quickly tell that there's probably some bruised and torn muscles in the arm. They hold it out and let you begin to work, and they're kind of watching you. And you get a slow nod. You can tell the adrenaline is starting to leave the system as they start to get a little shaky. Thank you. I was sure that we were not going to make it out that one.
Nothing to fear.
Do you?
I about said help is here, but the rhyme couldn't do it.
And the Duros will look past to Iffy and Raven, and then kind of glance over the river. You can see Tia and Kane still, I'm assuming, setting up a watch, trying to keep an eye of what's going on that side. Unless you guys have something else you'd like them to be doing.
No, like making a perimeter, it makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We weren't expecting. Who are you?
If he looks back over his shoulder at Kane, starts doing some mental math. We're part of an expedition. I think above table, we were told to look out for them, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Your buddies over at the base told us to keep an eye out for you, so here we are, keeping an eye out for you. My name's If, over here. This is Mindy. This is Raven.
Hi.
The Duros will kind of dip her head a little bit. Manny, Mai. Just call me Mai. That is Dr. Tan. And she kind of looks over at the Salonian a little nervously and looks back at Mindy. She's gonna be okay, right?
She needs time to heal.
She'll nod. And she starts to speak. You hear a crack in the woods, She immediately jumps and kind of like starts to spin around, though she can't move fully with her arm still in Mindy's hands. I think getting to camp would be a good idea.
If he nods. And we don't have our own camp near here, right? It's pretty pretty far.
Yeah.
I remember right.
Yeah.
She thinks for a second. Did you guys have a camp already set up?
My nods her head. We have our little base. Hopefully they aren't there.
Well, you already got a base. Let's head over there.
My slowly stands up, kind of cradling her arm into a sling, and looks around and looks back across the river. Are your friends coming?
Oh, yeah, they're coming. If you will, wave her hand, her good hand, over at the Mary Allens.
Kane will come. Like, nervously, looking over his shoulder.
Sure will, dear.
Who's carrying the unconscious Salonian?
That would probably be Kane.
I think he is the strongest, right?
Kane will bear the burden.
As
What is the most dignified way to carry an unconscious person? Bridal style?
bridal.
Bridle.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
gotta be
Yeah.
bridal.
Try not to trip over the tail.
Get a little sling for it, maybe? Just like tuck it up under their arm.
Tail sling might not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
As the others are getting settled, if you will take a quick second to walk over and try to wash some of the blood off her clothes.
Good luck.
Doesn't work all that well, but she tries.
Pocket hydrogen peroxide.
I know, right?
So you gather up and pick up the unconscious Salonian. There's a little groan and huff from Dr. Tan. And they start muttering something half under their breath. You're not sure what it is. You're not even sure if it is actual words. It's just jumbled up enough that you can't quite place it. But my does look all of you over one more time, and there's a nervous consideration back and forth you can see in their face before they nod and start leading you back down that halfway overgrown, disappeared path of stone. And lead you around a few of those towering skyscraper-esque trees until you come up to a sharp incline in the ground that she lays you down, and you see underneath one of the large roots the entrance to a small cave. And she reaches into a pocket and pulls out a flashlight, begins to lead you inside, and all of you immediately see that this is someplace that was actually worked on previously. There's carvings into the walls, and the ground has been evened out, kind of. Not enough that you would think this is someplace that someone tried to turn into a permanent dwelling of any kind. But enough that you know there is some group of people here. You see in some of the more concerning areas of the cave, old beams and rope have been put up and secured to try and hold things up. Much of the rope and what were probably overhangings to make it a little bit more pleasant to be in the cave have worn and tattered with age, but the traces are still there. And in a particularly flat outcrop of the cave, you see that a little camp has been made. A small tent pitched with some sleeping rolls underneath, and a little fire pit built and more recently used. It may lead you over to this little camp. Pull out one of the bedrolls a little bit more for you to lay Dr. Tan onto. And looks around. You said that you all were sent by the research group?
How's the lighting in here for EotE?
Not great when you wander beyond the realm of the flashlight. That she has just kind of sat up, so it's like shining up like towards the ceiling and kind of illuminating a bit more. But she doesn't seem to be in a rush to make a fire.
I think Iffy is kind of like squinting a little bit as she's looking around, and there's just this tiny little hint of frenetic, energy creeping into her movements. I mean, working with, you can consider us colleagues. Should we get that fire going? I think I would feel a lot better with the fire going.
She kind of squints at Iffy, and there's a little bit of a kind of extra couple wrinkles on her forehead where you assume would be kind of confused. Are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine, Iffy lies.
Oh, DM have question.
Mm-hmm.
Did we cross through the river?
Yes.
Tia lets out a little sneeze. Very, very small, but sheepish smile. Sorry about that, but I do believe these damp clothes are getting to me a little bit. A fire would be rather helpful.
Iffy will gesture toward Tia. See? Fire would be good. Fire's great. It's part of civilization. Love having a fire.
Quick question. What's the airflow like in here?
Enough that you don't have to worry about what you're going to be worrying about.
Okay, just checking.
I don't know how to describe it, but don't worry about that.
Not enough. Got it.
It's It's fine. There's evidence of a fire previously,
Mm-hmm. And the
and they're alive.
yeah, and they're alive and breathing
Mhm.
mostly.
Maybe it's just doing her job.
Pulls out a fucking like air quality reader.
Maya will just kind of like look between the two, and then there's a slow nod, and she starts slowly building the sticks and vines and such that have been gathered to make a fire.
Effie will gladly help with the fire, but she certainly needs the flashlight. And she's trying to play it off like she does not.
It doesn't take too long for a fire to be built and kind of stoked up and to illuminate more of the immediate surroundings. And you see that even on the walls of this outcropping, there are little sections have been painted and carved away. Not in any grand scheme, but probably more like a hangout might be. Places where teenagers or those that are bored and looking for shelter out in the woods just entertain themselves with painting and carving things on the walls. And Mai kind of sits back on her heels as the fire grows and illuminates, and she will hold up a hand, kind of wait for it to warm, and then rub her injured arm. Oh, you'll forgive me if I say that you aren't exactly... Well, I've not seen you with the research group before. What exactly are you here for?
Checking in above table, Joe. Would you like Kane to do yapping here, or do you want me to yap?
Kane will set the unconscious man down, and then he can jump in.
Alright.
So, what was the question again? Who are you, or what are you
What
doing
exactly are we doing with the research group? I haven't seen you working for them before.
Yeah, essentially the unspoken is you guys aren't Salonians. There's not a
Mhm.
single Salonian amongst you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Kane will
Uh-huh.
set the dude down, just kind of grunt and say, "We're not with the research group, technically. We're sort of new here. But we're looking for you. We've been told there's some interesting fauna on this planet that we were investigating, as well as some other things that I believe your research group was here for."
And Mai will give a little nod. And see her kind of start to pat around amongst a stack of items until she finds a canteen. And she'll settle and take a big swig of whatever liquid is inside. That would be, well, an understatement. We ventured the furthest out from the clearing. And the further we go, the weirder things get. Just gesture for everybody to settle down. Sorry, I don't really have much in the way of amenities to offer. Or much more thanks I can give other than just saying thank you. guess if you have questions or you're trying to find the questions to ask, I can tell you a few things, though everything is Dr. Tan's research. I'm just the assistant. I can't tell you everything. Not without her permission. Gesturing to the unconscious Thelonian.
She needs permission. What can you tell us?
Well, you were here about the animals, right?
In part, yes.
There's things back there, and she kind of gestures vaguely towards the entrance to the cave. Those were Vornskir. The only planets in the galaxy that they're found, and these... We haven't been able to prove it fully, but we don't think they hunt or track via centaur sight or any conventional predator means.
So how do you think they track?
Force? Maybe. We don't have any force sensitives to prove it, though, but they just seem aware of other creatures. In a way that's not quite normal.
If you happened to encounter a Force user, would you know how to, say, measure the influence of the Force that these creatures possess?
There's some experiments that we've thrown around. Theoretical, but they could work. And that's in part where the other creature I'm assuming you are interested in comes into play. I don't suppose any of you've heard of the Isalmers.
Have we? Have we heard of the Isalbers?
Heard it, like, seen it once, but that's about all you've heard is the name. You have no further information on them.
Kane just shakes his head.
You see, she starts to, like, lift her hands as if she's about to gesticulate something and winces and drops her injured arm back down again. It's a lizard. We only just recently discovered on this planet. And we think they're the primary food source for the Vornskirs here. Because, well, again, we can't prove it, but they seem to have developed a way of avoiding detection from the Vornskirs. Not any type of camouflage or masking their scent or anything. It's just like they disappear to the Vornskirs. They're still there, you can see them. They haven't moved. But the Vornskirs will be tracking them, and then all of a sudden it's like they don't even know they're there.
Could these creatures also be force sensitive?
that's the theory at this point. One tracks via the Force, maybe the other's manipulating it somehow so that they're not found.
Are there other creatures that could be force sensitive on this planet?
There's kind of this side to side head motion. Well, it would seem to be logical if two of the primary creatures are force sensitive and have developed some sort of relationship through the Force. Others might be, but we don't know if they're all are or just certain subsects of the population. The only two we've seen consistently are the Warrensker and the Salmers.
Is there, like, I don't know the question, but it's to Kane right now. It seems like there's a lot of animals on this planet that are all force sensitive. Is there something that can make a creature force sensitive by contact or proximity to it?
Haven't we heard of like force nexuses or something like that?
Mm-hmm. You guys have
And-
heard of force nexuses thus far, so you would know that if a planet is considered a force nexus, or there is a force nexus on a planet, that the likelihood of the things around it, both plants and animals, being force sensitive goes up. It's not guaranteed, but it is a possibility. There are also rumors of other ways of making things force sensitive, or of increasing the likelihood of things being force sensitive.
Is there a way to tell if a planet is a force nexus?
There are ways if you want to go kind of diving in as a Jedi, trying to find essentially a point of highest force on the planet. And kind
Would
of
Kane
judging
know
it.
them?
Know how to do that?
Yeah.
Theoretically. It'd be one of those things like you've read about it, you kind of know the concept. It's not something somebody has trained you to do, because it's not something most people are trained to do.
Okay. What was the other thing we came to the planet for? It was the fauna was like Kane's side objective, but the primary one was getting resources from the planet for the war?
I think we were also go on.
Go ahead.
I think we were also trying to make sure that the research that's being done here is bearing fruit, and is bearing fruit for the Republic in particular, and that we do know there's some weird stuff going on here. I think Iffy was also told to look into the animals, but I can't be 100% sure about that.
Okay.
So
So look into the
wildly
animals.
incorrect?
No, that's pretty accurate.
Right.
And she did, I will note that Mai did say, they were looking at the animals, but there's also weird shit in general. So, she has come across some strange things.
Okay. So Kane is kind of forming a plan of action, but he will divert the conversation and say, there seems to be a lot of strange activity on this planet, and you've been researching it pretty thoroughly. Have you found anything useful rather than just strange?
And you see that's the point where her eyes kind of drift towards Dr. Tan and are staring for a moment. Well, you had to have gotten permission from the expedition to find us. Have we found anything specific? No, but there's these really strange ruins that we've not been able to get into that might. And she kind of like starts to clam up at that.
Might?
Okay. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't know if you're wanting more out of her, you're gonna have to make a roll, my friend. You haven't been able to get in though.
Hold on, I haven't tried in the past couple minutes. Let me try one more time. If I had my choice, I would want to do something gentle, but I don't think Kane is particularly good at gentle.
I can have Iffy chime in with the charm if you want.
I mean, yeah, if that's not too meta.
Okay.
Still not getting in.
Yeah, all your social stuff pretty much is 2 greens. I mean, do you have FFG dice somewhere?
Wait, did you say Mindy?
No, I was asking you if you have FFG dice.
Oh, FFG. I thought I heard Mindy for some reason. No, I don't have any Star Wars FFG dice.
Again, I should have got you a set too. So if you want to interject with Iffy so that Iffy can roll something, you can. How are you interjecting, Kira?
I think Iffy sees this hesitation, and I think she'll like glance over to Kane as she's leaning forward in a sort of like, is it okay if I butt in here glance?
Nodding quickly.
Iffy will then continue. Look, I know you've been through a lot today, and you're probably not supposed to chatter about this with anybody you don't know, and you don't know us. But, we did just save your lives, so you can at least count on the fact that we're pretty decent people. And not for nothing, we've seen our own share of strange things on this place already. So, you won't freak us out, Mum. The information is definitely not falling into the wrong hands.
Make a charm at 3.
Alright. We'll make a charm at 3. Four successes.
Thank you.
No problem, buddy.
She may just like kind of scrunch her face up a bit, wrinkles appearing almost all the way from the top of the head down. She's trying to get around this uneasiness. We found some ruins a little ways off that well, this was all part of the Mandalorian Wars as far as we can tell. There might be something left there. They've not been researched or explored as far as we can tell. At least not by anybody in a very, very long time. If the Mandalorians were here for as long as they were, fighting as hard as they were, you would assume there's something worth fighting for.
Do you know anything about these ruins? Who made them? How long they've been there? How old they are?
That's the hard part about this place. Everything that's made by civilization is just generally building off the ruins of whatever came before it. So you don't have to fight the jungle as hard. There's things there that are new enough that they were probably built by the Mandalorians, but we don't know how old the foundations are. And again, we have only essentially got to what we think is the front door. Not gone inside. Wasn't our job.
Our job is at the end of the thought?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Kane kind of rubs his chin, and he will glance over to Iffy, and he's not trying to communicate anything. He's more like thinking and kind of looking around as he thinks. So right now we have ruins we can go to. We can investigate the force animals. We still kind of need to assess the usefulness of their research, but like I feel like assessing the usefulness is kind of going to certain places and doing certain things. Kane will ask, how far are the ruins from the camp? Is it less than a day's hike?
Meaning this camp?
The research camp.
To the one that you landed at?
Yeah.
It's about 2-3 days into the jungle.
And how long do you think it would take to find any progress in learning about the force sensitivity of these creatures? If we could get you a force user.
Depends on if we can find an Asalmer and how bad that force user is against being bait.
now Kane looks to Iffy and is kind of like, which one do we do? Silently asking her, like, do we ruin or do we put me in a bear trap?
There's a look back of, do you want to be in a bear trap?
He makes the slanty mouth emoji face.
Does not want to be in a bear trap. Okay. So, probably the temple then.
Kane will turn
So,
back.
oh yeah, go, go, go.
Kane turns back to her and says, we can get you back to the research camp where you can recover. And after a day or two of resting, you can return to your research. We'd like to go to this temple and explore a little bit deeper. We are more than capable of doing this, as you've seen. We would really like to see some more progress in your research, and we're willing to help.
She kind of blinks for a moment. You sure you've seen this jungle? It's not nice.
Is that you're sure you want to help, or you're sure you're equipped?
A little bit of both.
Kane will open his mouth to say something, and then he'll close his mouth, and he will reach underneath his little poncho and unclip his lightsaber and hold it out horizontally so that she can see it.
There's a few blinks, and you see it's taking a second for the gears to start turning. And then they start going. A little hamster is running in her head. Well, I guess that makes some sense.
Kane just silently nods, and he puts his lightsaber back. Do we have a deal?
She'll give a little nod. Yeah, I mean, if there's no deal, then Dr. Tan and I are just stuck here until she's healed. And that doesn't sound like fun either. I could use a shower.
Kane just nods sagely, like you're making the right choice. And he will hold out a hand for a handshake.
She'll very gingerly take his hand, and in the midst of shaking, she'll just kind of like grimace. You're gonna have to talk to Dr. Tan, though.
That can be arranged. And he looks over to Iffy, like, very, like a quick flash, like, help me if I need it, please. And then he goes right back to, like, handshaking.
I like to imagine that when the camera pans over to Iffy, she's like miming a handshake as if reinforcing, like, no, this is how you go for it, you know. Iffy just nods. There's a thumbs up there in the middle of the, remember, firm but not too firm, gesturing.
He'll seal the deal.
I kind of looks around at everybody again. And just gestures vaguely around the cave. I guess we stay here at least until Dr. Tan wakes up. Y'all are free to use whatever we have in the camp. That's not a lot. As far as we've been able to tell, this cave is secure. Nothing's tried to eat us yet. It goes pretty far back, too.
Have you gone all the way to the back?
She shakes her head. Spelunking is not something either of us signed up for.
That's exactly right. That's something men do, and it gets them killed.
I mean, to be fair, you can also say that about xenobiology, but here we are.
If you will look over the camp very briefly. How are we doing on food stores here? Is this like, do they got rations and shit?
They have some rations. They're
Some.
not like luxury rations, but it's like enough to keep them going for probably another week or so if they had to. And then you all still have your rations. So
So we're set on that account?
yeah, it's not fun food, but it is nutrition.
Mm-hmm. I think as the yapping is going on, if he is going to try and work ration magic, I don't know how good she is at this, but I feel like she has some experience with this process of, you know, the witchcraft by which you try to make a ration taste better than it does.
Give me a survival roll at 2.
All right. That's a triumph. Why a triumph on this?
What's the one thing she'd have on her? Does she have like MSG on her or something?
A little
That's a good
packet
question.
of MSG and like some sriracha.
Yeah. She's got like a tiny travel pack of food that keeps that she can add to the rations and shit. And she's actually getting them going pretty good, I imagine. But she is doing this all one-armed.
You make a like mush stew soup thing that does not look appealing at all when you look at it, but you taste it and it is better than what just eating the plain ration would be.
Gotta
You
get our
just-
Monster Hunter buffs up.
You have to close
Oh,
your
yeah.
eyes when you take the first bite, and then you adjust. What are the rest of you doing as you have a little bit of downtime, a little bit of cave to explore should you like to?
I mean, it's soup, right?
Soup.
Taylor would love to help make soup.
Got a sous chef.
She's probably using the broth she keeps in her thermos.
They're running a cooking YouTube show right now.
Yeah, I think
Survival cooking.
100%, yeah. Imitating the TV shows that they watch.
Raven.
They've got the vocal stems going.
Mm-hmm.
What is Raven doing?
Raven is examining the Beskar and trying not to let Iffy know that they are.
What in particular are you trying to look at with this Beskar piece?
I mean, they really want to know if it can be worked with, but they have been warned.
I mean, you examine it because it is a piece of armor. You know it can be worked with. You can see where it has been molded and even one or two traces of where it's been hammered in some sort of forge. You just, without doing proper chemical testing and such, you don't know what the requirements for the forge would be to work with it.
I think one thing they're curious about is if it's been here for a while, if it has anything to do with the interference on the planet that has to do with metal.
You've never heard of Beskar causing interference. And the metal that you saw in the trees was, I don't want to say more mundane, but I don't know another word to use at the moment, more common than
Ubiquitous.
ubiquitous types of metal. So unless there is a absolutely giant core of Beskar or something that you have not discovered yet, you think that that's going to be a little bit of a separate thing. Mindy, what are you doing?
Probably sticking with the knocked out person, making sure that their recovery is going well.
So you're sitting with them and trying to help tend to them. You're pretty sure that they start to have a nightmare of some sort. They begin to grow restless after a bit. Kind of tossing and turning and muttering something. Not getting up, they're not waking up, but they are disturbed about something. Do you just try to ease that?
Yeah, probably just, puts her hand on their chest or back, whatever's facing up, pats gently, diffuses some lavender in the area.
Essential oils.
Yes.
And is Kane doing anything in particular in this time of rest?
Focusing on the crystal.
Your crystal or the crystal that was given to you?
The red one.
Oh god, the ghosts have followed us.
So you are focusing on that. Give me a force. You can't.
Oh, hey, it's working now.
Hey.
I can give you a force roll.
Wee woo.
Thank you for the proxy, Kira.
Mm-hmm.
I'm loading. Hold on.
We'll get there one day.
Okay. Force roll.
It's 2. Oh, nice. So you are focusing on the crystal and meditating on it. I assume off to the side of the camp a little bit so that you're out of the way.
Yeah, somewhere where people won't see the red lightsaber crystal and get the wrong idea.
where is Kane's mind in this moment? What are they thinking about before they try to empty their mind for the meditation?
So, Kane is still benefiting from his force enhance. So I imagine his thoughts and his mindset is focused on the body, his physical body, his surroundings, what he can sense with his like touch and feeling. Um, he's kind of grounded and trying to ground himself, I should say.
As you are trying to ground yourself and focusing on the physical, the body, on your breath, on your heartbeats, on the sound of the wind at the mouth of the cave beyond, the occasional crack of the fire. Kind of feel your mind begin to empty and float away. And with it, try to pull ever so gently on the crystal in your hand, trying to ease it along with you. And perhaps for the first time since you've started meditating on it, you feel just a slight give. Not a release, not a break, just like managing to stretch one small spindle off of it. And you can feel that spindle kind of pulse with energy, with direction, a momentum that you don't feel from your crystal except for when in the very midst of battle you swear that your lightsaber is pulling you through the movement rather than you swinging it. Do you go with the momentum?
Yeah. I'll go with the momentum. I'll go with the vibe.
So you let your mind kind of move with the same momentum and intention that this thread is pushing on you, is pulling on you with. You get a flicker of something you're pretty sure you've never seen. Some place. A temple? Or something like a temple. You've only ever seen the temple on Coruscant that was that massive of a stone structure just towering into the sky. This one's almost pyramid shaped. Built in front of a mountain. There's more stone behind it, but it's faded and tinged in red and can't quite make it out. but you do see the plains that stretch out in front of the temple. Grasses that are nearly taller than a person. No roads, no trails cut through. And you feel like there is something inside that building. Something important. You can't put your finger on it. But it's something you want? Something you need? Something that shouldn't be forgotten. And it all fades into that red on the edge. And disappears to the back of your mind. It's there, you remember it, but it's not as present. What are you doing?
I remember everything, but it's not as present.
Mm-hmm. The initial vision kind of felt like you were almost a camera directly above everything.
Is there a way for Kane to like record what he thinks, what like the vision? Does he have like a pen and pad or something?
Yeah, you can try to like write it down or draw it out.
Yeah, he'll try to draw like a rough sketch of it, just so he has like, and the visual speaks more to him, so that he could probably recognize it when he sees it.
And if you really want to, you do have an artist in the party.
That's true. He'll have a rough sketch of it and then take it to Tia and be like, "Can you draw this but better?"
Amy?
Yes, hello.
Hi. Did you hear
Hi.
Did you hear Joe?
No, I'm so sorry. My work group chat's blowing the fuck up. I got distracted. Sorry, I'm putting it down.
How dare. How dare.
Sorry.
Kane is bringing Tia a drawing that he did of a vision he had. And is like, draw this but better. Right, Joe? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. He has the drawing of the temple pyramidal building in the side of a mountain, and he is going to. It is a very rough sketch,
Okay.
but he would take it to her and ask, like, "I don't know how you'll feel about this, but I saw this in a vision, and I need to remember it. If I describe to you and show you this picture, can you make a better rendition of it?"
I can certainly try my best. We would have to sit down for quite a bit. And maybe if we sit side by side, that could work.
He nods. I'm happy to sit as long as you need.
Though we do just have time on our hands, so I want it to be as accurate as possible. And she'll pull out her little tablet that's gets the job done.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I would like. How do I roll 1d6? Boop, boop. Okay, let's see. 1. All right. So she would drag Kane over to a corner where they can sit down because this is gonna take a fucking while. With soup, of course. Freshly made.
Mhm.
Putting up the tablet. The last thing that was on the screen was a doodle of Mindy and Raven.
Hmm.
Unfinished, but they're
What are
having
they
a
doing
great
in the
time.
doodle?
For lack of a better word, suffering, kind of. It's while they were on the walk through the jungle. It was a moment of like, okay, let's take a fiver, and two of them were just like leaning up against a tree, I think.
Mindy fighting vines that are currently like in all the joints. Raven about ready to pass out.
Yeah. That was the last thing she worked on. Just like, okay, just save file. Name it camping trip. Blank page. Let's get to work.
With Tia's help, this is roughly what you managed to get in shape and build of this temple.
Ominous. She has very specific questions after it's like done about just like the most benign thing, like the shading on this one specific part, if that's completely correct or not. She gets into specifics.
He doesn't know all the specifics, so it's a lot of like, uh, this way? This is probably right. Something. Sure. Like, he does not have the artistic eye to know if it's correct or not, or if it looks as accurate as possible, aside from just what he vaguely remembers.
All right, I can change this up. This is better. Just 1 or 2. Eventually. All right, final copy. We did our best working together. She does insist that Kane signs the bottom with her.
I didn't work on it.
Well, this is from your brain, so you kind of did. It was joint effort.
He opens his mouth to protest and closes his mouth, and he will sign a paper.
Yes. Save. Temple, Kane's Temple. Date. No, new name. Temple, Kane, Vision, Cave. Camping trip, part 1. Save file.
You're working on the right layer, right?
Oh god. Was she? Nah, she's a professional. She only fucked up once. Maybe 3 times, but it's fine.
you all manage to take a little bit of a rest, take a little bit of a break, get some meditation in, get some poking and prodding at various things in, and you all get roughly a night's rest. So that means that all of your strain should be recovered. And if any of you are injured, you can roll to heal, number 1, and then number 2, you can heal, I believe, let me double check.
I just want to say, Ozzy's double checking that while Tia and Kane were having art time, if he recognized an opportunity to try and leave without either of her bodyguards noticing,
What?
just for some fresh air. But Kane spots her. So, Joe, how does Kane, like, without interrupting art time, let her know, nope, come back?
She's trying to get fresh air, like just sneaking out of the cave.
Yes.
Kane, if he spots her,
He does.
He
I rolled
would-
4 threats.
he would give her a look and then like raise both eyebrows in this sort of like, really?
There's a slight please.
Just very, very lightly shake his head.
She comes back in, but she's not happy about it.
And then he nods his head.
So if the additional healing you'd like to do, everybody can get a healing roll on them, and then you naturally heal 1 wound overnight.
What's the recovery roll?
For medicine checks?
For just natural healing, or is that just the one?
That's just the one. One
Alright.
night of rest means all strain is healed and you get 1 wound back. And if you have a critical injury of any kind, that takes a full week, so good luck.
Alright. Oh. I guess she never got hurt.
Yeah, she stayed back and was shooting, if I recall.
Yeah.
That makes sense. She is a gunslinger.
But the night goes uneventfully. You'll roll back around to the morning with Dr. Tan starting to wake up. But I need a quick 5-minute break, so I'll be back.
No worries. I like the idea that Kane just had this, like, premonition at the back of his head that he should look up at precisely that moment.
If he sensed.
It got too quiet.
It did. It got too quiet.
If you've ever babysat children, as soon as it's quiet, you know something's up.
And she doesn't have internet here, so she can't gamble.
Mm-hmm.
This is a dreadfully understimulated Iffy.
Go get the fidget cube out of Tia's bag. Be right back.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Right. I heard Akira. Do we have a Joe?
Yeah.
Cody?
I'm here.
Amy? We have no Amy. Okay. And a Matt.
Yep.
There's Matt. Okay, so we're waiting on Amy. I do encourage you to remember this temple, Joe. It will become important later.
I'll save it to my notes.
Hello, I'm back.
There's Amy.
Hey.
Okay. So, you all take some time to rest and relax as much as you can in a stone cave. Get sleep. For some of you, probably better sleep than others. But still enough sleep that you wake the next morning not overly tired. Though I imagine, in particular for Raven and probably Tia, because Tia is a grease monkey. Some aching legs and backs from the hike that you're not used to.
What are you talking about? She's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Lies.
But you all wake the next morning, and as the camp kind of starts to move again, and there's noise and a reignited fire, Dr. Tan slowly starts to stir a bit, and Mindy would be the first one to see. So Mindy is sitting beside her. One large dark eye open and kind of blink blearily. And the other one slowly open. And there is at first kind of confusion as she looks around, then recognizes the cave before she looks at you, Mindy. And you just get this kind of hoarse, half croaked out, "What's a droid doing here?"
Helping you recover.
And you see that, and you can see her kind of start to shift and immediately wince as she pulls on a wound. There's a low hiss. Okay, yep. Not moving. Not moving. And I imagine that hiss is roughly what notifies the rest of you that she is conscious once more. And Mai immediately kind of perks up a little bit, sitting a little bit straighter where she is. Doesn't move to go rush over to Dr. Tan, though. Do any of you do anything?
Stretch.
Mindy's gonna try to probably get her some water.
She will try to lever herself up into a semi-sitting position to take the water. She drinks very greedily. You can tell it's just that without her being able to move her tail properly, even just this sitting up kind of throws her wonky and off to the side. Okay. Last thing I remember is teeth. Is that right?
Mindy looks over her shoulder. I was not at that session, so I assume that's correct, but
Yes.
If he
if he
nods,
came,
yeah.
Yeah, if Kane will approach. Where was it she got bit again? Is it
Everywhere.
Everywhere, but the very last thing was her being pulled by the leg. If he had her
Yeah.
around the torso, holding her there as the Dwarnseer was trying to bite her leg and carry her off.
Kane will like walk up and take a seat nearby, like give it a little bit of space, but sit nearby on like a rock or something and just say, "It seems you're awake. How's the leg?"
And she kind of like blinks at you. There's confusion again. Then she looks towards her leg and grimaces, and her leg is, I imagine, just fully bandaged, like hip to toe. Nicely done. Like, it is professionally done, thanks to Mindy. But just fully bandaged with some... Do you think Mindy has some, like, collapsible rods for splints?
Please hold. I'm gonna say yeah. She has a med pack, which I assume has stuff like that.
So just the outside, you do see that these two metal rods kind of keeping her lower leg in position have been secured. I'm going to assume that your droid is the only reason I am not screaming.
That would be a safe assumption. Thanks to Mindy here, you will likely recover a lot faster than you would otherwise.
Looks towards Mindy. There's another, like, kind of head to toe glance and a one single nod. Thank you. I know I am not meant for any type of medical work. And my isn't either. So thank you.
You
You're
are
welcome.
quite welcome.
My name is Kane Utras. Me and my associates here are part of a Republic reach out mission. We were coming to inquire about your research and a few other things, and it seemed when we arrived you were not at the base camp, so we came to look for you. And lucky we did. And if you don't mind, we had a few questions and curiosities about your research, if you're willing to share.
Tan will just kind of ease herself back down to where she is laying down again. And just kind of like wave one hand. Might as well. I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon.
And we'll just
call me
slightly
Tan,
smile.
by the way. We'll
And-
reach her hand out to Kane.
He'll shake.
Despite her build and her general state, it's a strong handshake. You don't know if it's whether a matter of her just being naturally strong or if that is just something that has been trained into her. And you see her kind of push some blonde hair out of, or not blonde, blue hair out of her face as she lets go. Shoot. While I'm still present.
So, the shortest question, with hopefully a long answer, is: has your research here turned up anything fruitful? Aside from learning that there's a lot of strange things here. Anything useful?
Depends on fruitful and useful to whom. She kind of gives it's not a hard look, but it's a knowing look towards Kane.
Well, useful to the Republic.
Well, we know there's something going on this planet. Probably to do with, well, definitely to do with the trees that interfere with radio signal. We've not figured out how to get radio through it on our end, though. So, once an area is blind, everybody's blind. Useful, maybe. Problematic, definitely. We also know that there's some content of abnormal elements within the plants here. Which, if we can figure out how to harvest, means growing minerals and chemicals rather than trying to harvest them. But I'm assuming you're wanting something along the lines of what we've found out about the animals of this planet. If you came all the way to find me and my...
And simply smiles, then nods. Yes, anything that you would find particularly useful to the Republic, as well as the force-sensitive creatures that live here.
You see her lips kind of tighten a little bit. And she doesn't say anything. It doesn't look like she's refusing to talk, but more so figuring out what to say. Well, we're fairly certain that some of the more unique animals of this planet are force sensitive, but since you led with that, I assume I already told you. And those of you sitting closer to Mike can see her kind of shift a little nervously and very pointedly look away from where Dr. Tan is laying down.
Let me see. I'll have Iffy try to lie through her teeth for the sake of this. I will have Iffy chime in. No, see that? Look, we put that together based on our own independent research, actually.
Roll me a deception at 2.
If I may add,
Uh-huh.
technically, we kind of did.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
I did fail, but just barely.
It's also very amusing to me to see which one of your social skills are just jacked up high and which ones are not.
Iffy doesn't lie a ton. She's decent at it, but she doesn't lie as much as people think she would.
And Dr. Tan, you can see her kind of shift. She can't quite move to get eyes on Iffy from where she is laying down. We see her kind of shift towards the sound for a moment. And Kane, you can see the brow raise and a little bit of a smirk. But she doesn't say anything in response. Well, we know, well, theoretically, she lifts a hand into the air, kind of waves it. All of this is theoretical. As far as I am aware, we're the first xenobiologists to actually study these creatures. Well, study them and still be breathing at the very least. But we know almost for certain that some of the major organisms on this planet are likely force sensitive. If not force sensitive by the book, have some capability of interacting with the force. Forcegears seem to hunt with it, but well, there seems to be multiple species of Vornskiers, but she shakes her head and you can see Kane a frown kind of grow across her face. The evolution doesn't seem right.
In what sense does it not seem right?
Well, when things evolve to have these speciation moments where things are changing, but they're still roughly the same creature, usually there's something inciting to it. Population gets separated by changes in land, or it's dependent on temperature shifts, or even nutritional shifts, ease of access to prey, or whatever they consume and persist on. None of that is present, as far as I can tell, to lead to, well, and she kind of, you see her kind of like her brow furrow, and she kind of rubs the side of her head. I want to say there was one in the pack of Vornskier that attacked us. Did you see one that looked different?
Kane thinks about it and nods. There was one. It was noticeably more. It seemed smarter.
She nods. Smarter. Half the time bigger. Developed adaptations that there doesn't seem to be any reason for, that I can tell. There's something off with those.
Any
No.
theories?
Oh, plenty of theories. Nothing to prove any of them as of yet. Be radiation, or illness, or exposure to a chemical, or any number of things, but until I can find a proof pointing towards one or another, they're all equally as likely and equally as unlikely. But what might be interesting, as far as I can tell, it's only the Vornskiers that have this species differentiation. This subgroup. Which would imply some intentionality.
I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
You're good. Do you understand what she is saying, though?
Like the creature could have been created,
Mm-hmm.
like intentionally created rather than happenstance.
Yeah. Just making sure that everybody followed that. Don't know that I was saying that the best way I could have.
I got it.
No, it makes sense.
Do you know, perhaps, if it was manufactured in such a way, how long ago it could have been? It seems like you're the only ones here now.
There's not a lot of them, but enough that we've noticed them. So we're not talking about just one or two that walked out of whatever hole made them. So it's not recent. Unless I can capture one and get a decent DNA sample off of it, I also don't know if there's any type of issue with breeding it normally. Say it has to have been old. Not original to this planet, not going back to the original inhabitants. Otherwise, there'd likely be far more of them, or well, they could have killed off the originating Vornskir completely. So, sometime after that diaspora, I would put it slightly more recently. Not talking about in the last year, not even during this war, but within the past 1,000 years, maybe. Which in this universe is talking about like going back to like the 1600s for us. Old, but also not grossly old either, compared to what other things we can talk about.
Does that narrow it down at all?
Essentially puts it into either just before these Mandalorian wars or sometime after it.
Okay. Do you think we can capture it?
She kind of looks at you, and then she looks down at herself. I don't know about we.
Well, obviously not you, and obviously not now, but us, and he gestures to himself and Iffy and the others.
When he gestures to Iffy, there's a silent, like, tilt of the head of, like, I don't know about me, boss.
I mean, you think you can outsmart it, and there's a possibility of making something strong enough to cage it. The only thing we know for certain that Vornskers go after are the Selmer, though. Have to
Could we?
get a few of those. I do mean a few to make it worth the effort.
How many's a few? 5?
Roughly.
Kane just kind of nods his head approvingly, like, okay, it's not too bad.
Mm,
Do you have a thought?
oh, I'm sorry. That's an Amy noise of. Do you know how hard it is to catch a lizard?
Yeah. If he has full faith in Kane, but she's doing the math on this mentally, and she's like, this is an interesting plan. It's not voicing it.
I don't think Tia would have ever caught a lizard before. So she will also be underestimating it, sadly.
If it helps a little bit. These are like iguana sized, so they're not super
Oh my
big.
god. Oh no.
These are big boys.
Oh, we're cooked.
Tan just kind of seems to be thinking to herself. You can see her kind of counting on her fingers something. And if you get a group of them, you run into the other side of a wonderful world of Mirkir fauna. They're not carnivorous, so that's nice. They don't want to take a chunk out of you. But they do have some strange effects on people that get around them sometimes.
Like what exactly?
Oh. There's been a few recorded and experienced moments where it's almost like they cause vertigo. Not sure exactly what they do to make that, if it is indeed them and just not maybe something they decided to eat or rolled in, or who the hell knows at this point. But there's something that can make them make you a little off. And
Duly noted.
Mai will nod. Roughly about the same time that the Vornskier stopped paying attention to them. And Dr. Tan will look over to Kane again. This is starting to sound like the potentially useful things you were looking for.
I think so. We'll know for sure once we get our hands on some of these things. One of which is going to be that temple.
I'm not going in there.
Rest assured, you will not have to. We are going to go in, and while we are going in, you can work on catching the shit. What are they called? I just forgot the name.
The
Salmers?
Selmers?
It's Elmers. We only need 5.
We only need 5. If I get bit by one, and she like kind of tilts her head a little bit as if she's like trying to see where Maya is, judging from where she last heard her voice. Remind me to let it bite him.
I thought they were herbivores.
Everything bites when it's scared.
Noted.
Hell, take all your weapons away, and all everybody here would bite as a last resort.
Scrunch of the face. Gross.
Not wrong, though.
Not wrong.
Well, it seems we're in agreement. We'll rest here, collect ourselves, head back to base camp to drop you off, and then he gestures to the team again, will head out to the temple, and you all can take your time catching some Isilmers.
She kind of looks down at herself again. It's gonna be a trek. I can't put weight on this, I can already tell.
I will help. He doesn't say this with glee,
But certainty.
Yep, just like, I know you can't put weight on that.
I already been assigned.
She looks towards you, and there's a little bit of, again, that kind of arch of the brow. And she's considering for a moment. You're a soldier, ain't you?
He opens his mouth, and then closes his mouth, and then will unclip his lightsaber and show it to her.
She kind of like takes in the lightsaber, and then there's a little bit of a nod. Yeah. Close enough. So the Jedi Council finally clued in that mirror cure exists.
It does seem that way. Things are getting a little dicey in the war.
Oh. You can see her start to try and push herself up a little bit more into a sitting position again. Wincing the entire time, but keeps until she's at least able to get kind of up onto her elbows. Can I offer a little bit of advice?
He gestures, like, with his hand, as if to say, like, the floor is yours.
I don't know exactly what all of you are here for, beyond just poking your nose into things. And she kind of points one finger towards Kane. But if there's a temptation to take something off this planet, I wouldn't do it.
Why not?
Ever heard of an invasive species?
I have.
Everything here is so intertwined, has evolved in such specific ways, informed by the abilities of the other creatures here, the chemistry of the plants, the very resources of the rock. We don't know what they need to survive. We don't know exactly how much they need of it. But say, for instance, the Selmers and the Vornskirs are affecting the Force, are manipulating it. What happens when you take them and drop them into the middle of a population with untold Force sensitives inside?
Kane scrunches his face and understands the problem.
Research is one thing, but lifting something off this place and taking it wherever, that's a danger I don't know even the council has considered.
We'll figure out what we're going to do when we find something. Until then, we don't have to worry about it. Not yet.
She'll kind of nod and look around the group. Is there anything else any of you would like to ask or say or do while you're in this little camp?
I can't really think of anything other than, pack up all our shit. Now thinking about, man, lizards got teeth.
Okay. So, I don't think we need to necessarily go through the trials and tribulations of getting two injured people through the jungle back to base camp. Other than just know that it's 3 days of not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not fun for
Yay.
everybody involved. And you guys will get them back to base camp in one piece, mostly. All of you a little bit more scraped up and bruised than you were before, as fighting plants and thorns and tripping over roots and stones and bumping into each other. Part of the not fun. But I think we will call it there with y'all getting back to the base camp in one piece.
That sounds good to me.
Start y'all off
Nice.
on your next leg. That sounds like you guys are heading towards the ruins, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start it
Unless
off
there's any objection.
there
Nope.
next time. Okay.
Thank you, Z.
For running.
Thank you.
See.